the pop art that I do, I mean, there's a different thing there, you know? Like I really like Wesselman's and Andy's and Lichtenstein. I like all of their paintings, and they just do an incredible job. But it's different from what I do. What I do is people. A person, even if it's a woman getting out of a car, there's some kind of movement and some kind of thing there that you can look at and look at. Well, I used to, here's the way I would kind of describe to me what would be an interesting painting. You have a painting on the wall. You go and buy a painting, frame it, put it on the wall. And then if you walk by it and don't see it anymore, if it disappears, then it's just a painting. But if you have a painting that every time you walk by it, it says something to you, then you have a good painting.
In the early and mid-1960s, Gill creates a series of specific motifs of women and men getting out of automobiles. In 1962, he visits the Felix Landau Gallery in Los Angeles and brings 3 works of his women in cars with him. Felix Landau is so impressed that he immediately takes Gill on as an artist. At the beginning of the 1960s, there were not many color reproductions in magazines or art books. However, during this time, Life magazine and Time magazine printed movie stars and famous people getting out of cars. The so-called paparazzi shots, as they are still known today. Gill saw this as a visual stimulus to incorporate large areas of color into his paintings, as well as the reflections and shapes in the windshield and windows, combined with portraits of beautiful women and famous men. The Women in Cars were born.
I think the magazines, Life and Time magazines, I mean, I would look at a photograph and kind of visualize it as a painting.
At that time, everyone was reading Life and Time magazines, so most people would immediately relate to the content of his work, cars and famous personalities. When Gill's Women in Cars found their way into galleries and museums, they were considered modern, keeping with the spirit of the times. Gill's pictures showed what the magazines could not always serve: color, but above all, emotions, expression, and depth. The works left enough room for the viewer to interpret on his or her own reflections. Where is the woman in the car coming from? Where is she going? Why is she getting out here? In his process, Gill artistically describes 2 worlds with his women in cars. On the one hand, the interior of the car. This conveys safety and security. Here, the individual can be as she is. Give free rein to her feelings. She could be sad, joyful, or bored. On the other hand, the moment of leaving the car is synonymous with a step into reality, outside. Who is waiting for me? Who can see me? How do I appear in my surroundings?
My paintings, which are called pop art, are actually more than pop art. They've always been connected with the person that's being used as the pop art.
Gill captured the moment, press and flashbulbs. One wrong move, one not smiling, thanks to the paparazzi, the next morning the whole world would know. Gill's approach of portraying famous personalities at the Women in Cars was quickly developed further by him. Once again, he was way ahead of his time. What the paparazzi were then for the stars of the good old Hollywood days are now all those who are on the move with their cell phones. Whereas back then, there was life and time. Today, digital media such as Instagram and Facebook are omnipresent. The women in cars in Gill's late work appear modern, fresh, and attractive. Alongside this, however, the paintings from the 1960s do not appear dusty at all. A good example is his oil painting, Woman in Striped Dress from 1962. It was among the works Gill brought to Landau's gallery. It was shown in the exhibition Around the Automobile, 1965 to 1966, at MoMA, alongside Edward Hopper's famous 1940 work, Gas.
The women in cars came about from looking at photographs in Time magazine, usually Time magazine, like a snapshot of Jackie Kennedy getting in or out of a car, or a snapshot of some movie star getting in or out of a car, sunglasses or not, pattern. The dresses always gave me something to do a pattern. The shapes of the car, the top, the door, those shapes in the car colors was really an element I love to stick into a painting. The glass could be reflective, or you could see through it, all sorts of things to do that way. And so that's how it came about.
More than half a century later, the new works absorb the spirit of the 1960s and transform it into forms of expression common today. Thus, the women in the cars show themselves in a variety of poses, no matter how, whether with a direct gaze, behind sunglasses, facing away, or tilting their heads back. Gill plays a breathtaking game on the canvas. He invites us to an encounter that, in all its diversity, leaves plenty of room for interpretation and makes no stipulations. The sceneries of the women in cars invite to linger, to dream, and to reflect in equal measure. His new canvas works continue this approach by incorporating car paint-like color hints in the form of a kind of metallic paint. The automobiles he depicts thus appear more present and modern in keeping up with the times. What happens inside the car? What the reality is like in the person portrayed in each case? The psychological component that remains hidden from us. A secret that is inherent in each of these works. To reveal the secret, however, the artist leaves it to us.
You look at Andy's prints of Maryland, and it's just a design thing. When I do Maryland, there's some kind of emotion there. It's a person, and this person is happy or moody or sexy, or there's something about the image, the face. Sometimes when I'm painting one, maybe the corner of the lip just doesn't work, and I'll work on it till I'll get it to change from a frown to a smile, or, you know, like wanting the person in this painting to show a particular or some kind of feeling that I'm trying to get.
Gill's Women in Cars are equally an example of diversity and permanence. They use forms familiar to us to open up new perspectives. They take us on a perpetual journey. They are mysterious, yet communicative, quiet when we need them to be, and loud when we don't expect them to be. They are not well behaved, but sometimes cheeky, naughty, and straightforward.